So anywhere on the circle, you can draw it anywhere. There, 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 wherever. And wherever you draw it, if you were to measure it, it's always going to be the same amount. From the center to any point will be the same amount. And we call that line that we draw from the center to any point the radius. Now if you were to draw a line going straight across, let's say from one side of the circle all the way to the other, but it must pass through the middle, okay, that one is called the diameter. And it will always be the same as long as you draw your line going through the middle every single time. So it must go through the middle, and this line is the same as that line. So I could keep drawing them if I want, as long as I go straight through the middle of the circle, right through that middle point. Okay, so all those diameters will equal the same amount. If I draw one up at the top and I don't go through the middle, obviously you can see that this line is going to be shorter than this line that goes through the middle. So the longest way we can make it is go through the middle. Okay? So if we look at the diameter and the radius, now I'm going to draw another diameter going right across the middle here. So the diameter goes right from one side to the other, and I'm going to draw him, start over here, all the way to the end here. So now I'm going to take this diameter, I'm going to put him there, there's our diameter. I'm going to take the radius, and I'm going to put him starting off at about the same. And you can notice just by looking at him, the diameter looks here to be about twice the amount of the radius. And in fact, if you measure it, it will always be twice the radius. So if we're given the radius, because we said the diameter is twice the radius, so let's work it out. If the radius is 12, the diameter is twice that, so it should be 24 centimeters. If the radius is 3.4, double that will be 6.8. If the radius is 27, the diameter will be twice that, or 54 centimeters. And if the radius is 5, remember the diameter is twice that, so the diameter will be 10 centimeters. Now we can go backwards. If we're told the full length of the circle from one side to the other, the diameter in other words, is 12, the radius is half that, or 6. If the diameter is 3.4, the radius is half that, and it's 1.7. You can just simply take your calculator and go 3.4 divided by 2, okay, to work it out. If your diameter is 27, half of that will be 13.5 centimeters. And if your diameter is 5, your radius is half that, so it's 2.5 centimeters. So it's pretty easy to find the radius if you're given the diameter, or to find the diameter if you're given the radius. Now we're looking at the circumference of a circle. Now remember, the circumference is the total distance around. And we're going to find a ratio of the circumference to the diameter. In other words, let's change this to a fraction. We're going to take the circumference of any circle and divide it by the diameter. In other words, the distance from one side to the other in a perfect straight line. And when you do that, when you take any number, any circumference you have, and you divide it by the diameter, you will always get the same number, which is about 3.14. And they have a name for that, mathematicians. They call that one pi. Now, of course, the real number for pi is a lot longer than 3.14, but for our purposes, we're going to use 3.14 because it's a whole lot easier to do. So if I'm given a circumference, I can calculate now what the circumference is for any circle using this wonderful formula. Okay? So the circumference of a circle can be found by timesing 2 times this pi number and then multiplying it by the radius. Now, if I'm not given the radius, let's say I'm given the diameter, I don't have the double the radius. I just go pi times the diameter. Okay? So that's one way to calculate the circumference of any problem we have. So let's get an estimate here. Let's go back. We've given the diameter, and we want to find the circumference. So let's take our formula for the diameter and just bring him over here so we don't forget it. And there he is. So here's our formula. Circumference equals pi times the diameter. Now I could simply take my diameter. My diameter is 2. And I could take pi, which is 3.14. And when I multiply that in my calculator, I will get the exact answer. But we don't want the exact answer. We just want an estimate. We just want to know about how much. So let's round off pi to 3 and just go 3 times 2. 2 3s are 6. So the answer is about 6 centimeters. Because we always round off pi to 3 just to get an estimate. Again, we're given the diameter of 24. We want to know the circumference. So the circumference is pi times d. The diameter is 24. Pi is about 3. So 3 times 24. And our answer will be about 72. So it's all about just putting in what we know into the formula. We know the diameter, so put 24 in for d. We know pi always, so we just put pi in there and go and multiply it together. So in this one, 4.2 times the diameter, times pi. So it's 4.2 times, we're going to round off pi to 3 because we only want an estimate. And we're going to get, if we multiply that, 4.2 rounds off to 4. So 3 times 4 is about 12 centimeters. Okay, so that's all about if we know the diameter. Now what if we're given the radius? Well, remember what the formula was for radius. So let's take that one here and put that formula right here so we don't forget what it is. And again, it's not hard. All we simply have to do, oops, we forgot our r there. Let's put him in there too. There. So our formula is 2 pi r, or 2 times pi times the radius. So what's our radius? Our radius is 2, so circumference is 2, times pi, which is 3.14. We're going to round it off to 3. And the radius is 2. And then we're just going to times it all together. So 2 times 3, because I'm going to round this off to 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. So our answer is about 12 centimeters. For this one here, our radius is 24. So we're going to put it into the formula. 2 times pi, which we're going to round off to 3 in a minute, times the radius is 24. So 2 times 3, because we're going to round him off to 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 24 we'll need to work out. So I'll just grab a quick calculator here to help work it out. And we want 6 times 24. So 6 times 24 equals 144. So the answer is about 144 centimeters. Last one. Remember, circumference is 2 times pi times r. So we're going to have 2 times our pi times r, which is our radius, 4.2. Now, in this case, we only want to get an estimate, so I'm going to round off 3.14 to 3, and I'm going to round off 4.2 to 4. So, here's what we got. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. So our answer is about 24 centimeters. Now we're actually going to calculate the circumference. So we're actually going to work this out, and it's no harder than estimating, except we actually got to put in the real number for pi. So remember our formulas that we had here, formulae that we had here, and we're going to take the diameter this time, and we're going to go, the circumference is 2, oh, not for diameter, it's pi times the diameter, which is 2. So 2 times, so let's put in pi. Let's put in our diameter, which is 2. And 2 times this will be 6.28 centimeters. And there's our answer.